Hey, what's good, YouTube? What's good today? We're gonna be just talking about uh, a concept of time that I've actually made a video about previously with Ike, right? And I stated in that video that it's apparent that Africans can't see the future, right? We don't have a trans-temporal relationship with time, right? And this is not just something that's supported by me, even an African philosopher, I think one of the only few ones from Kenya, his name is Mbiti. He wrote about the same thing. So it's quite interesting when I studied a little bit more about African philosophy, and I found that my ideas were not just simply mine, but other people have also expressed similar things. Because if you can perceive something, you can look at a culture, and generally in Africa, we've seen how we work. We have what we call sustenance entrepreneurship. We think about getting money for the daily bread, right? This is integral to our evolutionary process. We were hunter gatherers, right? If you're going to evolve from a system like that and you don't, let's say, change or drastically change that system from hunter gathering, where you go out there, you hunt for the day, right? You don't develop processes to, let's say, make sure the meat doesn't rot across time, because you don't need to. You'll come from the savannah, you come from a forest where you can always go and hunt new game. So if you look at the European context, the evolutionary process was a little bit different, right? They were hunter gatherers also, Anatolian, etc., from genetics perspective, but they did go and live in a more harsh environment, specifically Europe. Europe, whereby you have to think about the future. You have seasons, four distinct seasons, which means evolutionarily you are forced to contend with time, right? If you don't take the animal that you hunted, turn that animal into something that can be preserved. If you don't perfect preservation tactics, or even just storing the animal fat for energy during the winters and the cold months, you won't survive. Meanwhile, in Africa, we had abundance, right? Especially before the boom of the population in the 21st century. We didn't suffer from things such as famine, because in reality, our population was much less then, and you could find food anywhere. You could go and hunt. So what I'm saying here is this, right? Based on our evolutionary process, we Africans remained mostly within that hunter-gatherer style pastoralism, which you are engaging with chaos in real time. What I'm saying here is simple. If you're a pastoralist, you are going there, you're preventing a lion or a hyena from eating your sheep in real time. You are only concerned with things that are happening right now, or has happened in the past, aka what you perceived 5 seconds ago, and the immediate future, aka well, there's a lion here, it might eat my sheep, right? That's a guaranteed future if you look at it from that perspective. But we did not develop the ability to see the future and demarcate potentials for us to, let's say, grow. This is why generally we were slower in developing than other nations, specifically European nations and East Asian nations. They had the advantage that the environment forced them to consider time. We didn't. Now, I've stated this before in my philosophical video with Ike, and of course, a lot of people wanted to fight this, but just look at how we are. Look at how things happen, right? There is such a thing as black man timing for a reason, because, or rather, it's native people's timing, right? These things are true because we just didn't evolve. Now, this is a paper, it's a research paper over here from Nigeria University. It's called African Concept of Time, a Social Cultural Reality in the Process of Change. So what does this mean, right? Why am I making this video? Well, one of the reasons I'm making this video is because it will allow us to gauge a little bit more how we, how we prepare ourselves with social cultural norms, which systems, right? Why our systems are corrupt, why our systems are slow, why we don't really consider doing things efficiently or effectively, right? These things are not just accidents, right? We're not behind developmentally because only of neocolonialism. No, that's only a small, well, that's just only an aspect. Uh, Shout out to you, Mohadeen. We're behind because we don't consider time at all. And time, when you can master time, right? No, it's not fake, Mohadeen, right? It's a real stream, right? Yeah, when you consider time, you can actually go around there and do a lot of things. But anyways, we'll read this, right? It might not be the most interesting stream, but hopefully some of you guys might get something out of it. Well, I'll start by reading this paper a little bit, then we analyze it. Okay, the paper is a defense for African thought system. Okay, we quite agree with Professor Ulugu that African philosophers are best in the position to carry out coherent reflections on African philosophical issues and ideas. I don't agree with that. I think anyone with a brain can definitely think and give us more insights about Africans, right? Over there, Audrey says, "I was here first, but I didn't say anything." In the chat, yeah, you're always here for the dusty shows with only 2 people, Audrey. For some reason, right? You're never here for the shows with 40 people, right? Always here for the, I don't know, Audrey, but anyways, cool. Africans are okay. Now here's a statement, right? Like E. Ludwig, he stated, uh, Africans are incapable of philosophical conception. I don't agree with that fully, right? I think some Africans can think and create some philosophical conception. So I don't agree with that. Some who are more liberal opines that Africans are capable of reasoning intelligently, but at the lowest EB of thought. Generally, I agree with this one. I don't think we are gifted as a collective, right? I'm not talking about individuals. I mean, as a collective, we don't have quite the same reasoning culture, right? Our culture is not focusing on, finding the highest level of reasoning. So we just haven't developed that culture yet. So this is sad. Evidence abound that Africans compete favorably with counterparts across the globe. No, not really. I've looked at the universities that do research. Not really, right? In world universities like Harvard, Cambridge, and Oxford, etc. Yeah, these are exceptions, right? So I'm gonna go here and say an exception to a rule doesn't mean the rule doesn't exist at all, right? And I think we need to escape from that. Oh well, we got one African who's really smart. No, no, that's not how this works. This work has therefore reflected on African thought system on the conception. It captures the pre-scientific period, the colonial period, and the post-colonial period. It has effectively justified that not only the Africans, even the pre-scientific time, have their conceived ideas about time, but that their time conception is highly philosophical. No, it's not. No, 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 no. It's not at all. Let me see when he's analyzing BT, because we do not have a concept of time at all, right? I've seen this. I've read it. Look at the way we structure our systems, right? For economy, commerce, and trade, we don't consider time. You go to an African court system, nothing moves for years. 8 years, nothing's actually happened. The average is 3 to 5 years, again, of nothing happening. This is not a consequence of colonialism or post-colonialism. It's a concept of our own mindsets, from my opinion, right? So this Nigerian research paper is definitely booty clapping for the Africans. From my perspective here, this is wrong. And I'm going to show the Kenyan philosopher who abounds that this is conceptually not correct. In a traditional African setting, according to, let's look at Mbiti. So shout out, yeah, right? Cool. This is where we want to go and actually analyze these things, right? John Beatty, a professor of African philosophy and religion, has discussed African concept of time in the context of the religious thought system of Africans. In this perspective, he wrote that Africans' concept of time is the key to our understanding of the basic religious and philosophical concepts of the people. He wrote that the concept of time may help to explain beliefs, attitudes, practices, and general way of life of African people. I agree with him. Not only is the traditional setup, but also in the modern situation, whether political, economic, educational, or church life, he opined, right, that the world of scholarship should bear with the fact that in this area of research, there's not enough literature to depend on. I agree with that. Time to Mbiti in African concept is of little. Now, guys, watch what he's saying, right? And I agree with him, actually, because I made a video with Ike previously. I can share it with you guys. I said the exact same thing. Time to Mbiti, right? Mbiti is a African Kenyan philosopher. In African concept is of little or no academic concern. Africans don't care about time, especially in the traditional way of life. It is obvious that Mbiti's work also captured African life in the pre-colonial era. In his words, to Africans, time is simply a composition of events which have occurred. This is why when I mentioned earlier, when I was making the video on BRICS, to an African, all they will see is that BRICS is great now. They can't project the future. They can't project that BRICS will change into a system that perhaps will become draconian or parasitical, like the IMF or other global systems of power. The African is only looking at now. What is BRIC considering itself to be? What is BRIC showing itself to be? right? Africans can't project time, right? This is one reason why we have been colonized. We have been taken over economically. We're not growing because we just don't see the future. We can't project accurate time into the future. We don't care about it. It's not part of our culture. And we're not capable of doing it at the highest level, according to what NBT is saying over here, right? And this is a philosophical statement, but I do agree with it. Audrey says, why did BRICS add Argentina, the most racist? Exactly, Audrey Kemi. That's what I'm asking there, right? They didn't want to add countries like Nigeria, but they would rather add Argentina. This is one of the greatest lies that unfortunately is being told on us, right? We need to understand that we just can't see the future. Muhyiddin says, better I leave here, you talking like high IQ, Kazi. Right. Shout out to you, Muhyiddin, right? It's too high IQ for you. So, yeah, so shout out to you for, making sure that Mbiti's point is remaining true. But shout out to you. Anyways, in his words, to Africans, time is simply a composition of events that have occurred, right? To Africans, time is whatever has happened. It's not about the future. Those which are taking place now, right? Present time, and those which are immediately to occur. Like I mentioned, there's a lion in my presence. It might eat my sheep. That's all the African is able to reason to immediate time, right? Okay, a lion is there. It might eat me. That's why I keep saying we as Africans have a culture of reactionism, right? We keep reacting. And one of the issues when we're focusing on a culture of reactivism is that we never get to evolve to the next dimension, right? We're always moving towards a path that's directed and it's baseless based on things that we value. Look, I want to make sure that I'm not waffling here. I'm going to be very straightforward, right? We Africans can't see the future. We Africans interact with new people within our continent as if they're just like us. We keep projecting our cultural norms onto them, and then we never learn from the fact that these people are not us. This is why most tribes invited settlers to come in. And of course, the settlers, even though they proved themselves to be untrustworthy, the African mindset was to trust that settler and allow that settler to join our cultures, learn from us, and then come back, of course, stronger and then take over us. And we haven't learned that at all, right? Since colonialism, since slavery, we have not even developed any form of systems of security. We haven't created an ECOWAS that actually has a proper military functional unit. We don't haven't created an ECO, a system of trade that would allow us to be able to, utilize power in that region. We don't have an East African shilling. We don't even have a rand as the official trading currency within the Southern African bloc. These are issues of the fact that we cannot see the future. This is an issue of the African